very good morning to you. This is Monday with Friday, wishing for you a holy week ahead. It's for you to determine now whether I was off target or not all these months, warning about the bad judgment it would be for a certain man to be given a second opportunity to sit in the world's most powerful chair and office. To all the non-Americans who either suggested that he wasn't their problem, or Americans who wondered why I was talking about him so frequently, or who wished I would talk about something else, well, if your prices are already going up due to a whimsical and capricious tariff levied against your country, or if you know somebody who has been harmed by the American president or government, or someone who has been deported without due process to your country, you now understand why I warned so loudly and so passionately. I have exhausted myself, as also my time, in pleading with and forewarning people to think, be logical, analytical, and wise, to head off this current trouble long before it came upon us. This current trouble still very young and with a long runway ahead towards its fullest and wickedest potential. I pleaded and warned when all of this was just the concept of a thought in the mind of the felonious parent, when many of my viewers had the power to abort it with their vote. Now, yesterday began what Christians call Holy Week, wherein Christians worldwide commemorate Jesus' final days as he annoyed and challenged one final time the corrupt status quo, wherein he was arrested, lied about, spat upon, mocked, and run through a kangaroo court that had nothing to do with due process, and finally delivered up for execution. In a kind of election wherein the choice was between Jesus and Barabbas, the people, knowing full well that Barabbas was an imprisoned felon, convict, and insurrectionist, a vile man to the core, elected him for release, not Jesus. The people in another election, in another country 2 millennia later, who chose a felon, convict, and insurrectionist in their election, include some who are so set against minorities that they would rather choose that person, that vile person, presumably to punish minorities by limiting their freedoms and their identities. Many persons who identify as Christian who voted for this felonious man would tell you that they hate abortion. But so do many people who did not vote for him. The latter group greatly desires fewer abortions as well, but they believe in the competency and sole freedom of the individual to choose what they consider right for their own significantly difficult medical, social, and quality of life situation. They hold that it is wrong for government or a group of religious people to impose that religious position upon everybody else. Even without a First Amendment, that would be wrong. And not even Jesus ever imposed himself or his values on anyone. Those same people who voted for the felon also disagree with, perhaps even dislike, LGBTQ persons once again on the basis of their faith. Now, it doesn't mean that all the people who voted for the other candidate necessarily believe or agree with everything LGBTQ, but they recognize the human right of LGBTQ persons simply to be that in a secular society, or even a supposedly religious one that possesses a First Amendment regardless of religious persuasions. Thirdly, many of them despise America's steady growth towards being a brown nation, which is what it was before Europe landed here, I remind us. Fourthly, they disagree with, dislike, or even despise the people who advocate for the rights of these three categories of people I just named. Many conservatives hurl the word liberal at those advocates as though it was invective. It's highly arguable that a chief reason these supposedly nice Christian people knowingly chose a depraved and criminal Barabbas as president was to limit, curb, manage, overrule, deny, diminish, and even punish and make to suffer LGBTQ persons, ethnic minorities, legal and legitimate asylum seekers, and both women and 11-year-old girls impregnated by rapists or needing gestational or antenatal health care. It is highly plausible that those Christians desire to control or even punish others with whom they disagree and to make them suffer was greater than their desire to keep America and the world free from a reckless, lawless, cruel, and punitive leader of whom they and the whole world had more than adequate evidence that he would be a destroyer of human capital, financial capital, and institutional capital. And so in this Holy Week, with all the foregoing in mind, I have 3 questions as I close. 3 questions for Christian people who say they commemorate Jesus' sacrificial crucifixion for them and for their sins. 1. Have you become the kind of Christian whose idea of suffering is to make others suffer because they are inconvenient to you, different to you, despised by you, or all of the above to America or to whoever or wherever you are? Since when did Christianity become a matter of how much you make others suffer for you rather than your own willingness to suffer for them like Jesus did? 2. When last have you willingly embraced or accepted or sustained a loss so that somebody else might win? 3. Is there even the faintest of ideas in your mind somewhere that your Christianity is somehow a law license or a sheriff's badge with which to compel or force the rest of the world to comply with your values, whether they like it or not? I'm Michael Friday, and for you Christians out there, may your living become more Christ-like, even if by today's standard, it must become less Christian. Holy Monday, all the way to Bad Friday.